The first human ship to ever leave Earth drifted into the unknown darkness of space, a tiny speck among the stars to the Galactic Alliance watching from the shadows. It was like a single thread unraveling in the fabric of the universe. The ship was nothing more than a simple science vessel, but its very presence was enough to stir something deep in the hearts of the ancient species watching from their hidden corners of the galaxy. The humans had never seen this kind of space before. No borders, no maps, no guides, just the void stretched out endlessly ahead of them. They had sent their best crew, their finest minds, but they had no idea what awaited them in the depths of the cosmos. The ship was called the Horizon. It was sleek and simple, yet designed with an elegance that betrayed its true purpose. No one knew why the humans had chosen to send only one ship. No one knew what kind of message they hoped to convey by sending just one vessel into the galaxy. But there was something that felt almost reckless about it, something that unsettled the powers that watched from their far-off worlds. There was no fleet, no grand show of strength, just a single ship gliding through the endless dark. And that uncertainty, that single act began to ripple across the Galactic Alliance, a quiet murmur of confusion and curiosity. The most powerful species in the galaxy could not understand the humans' choices. They had been watching Earth for centuries, monitoring their broadcasts, their technology, their rise as a species. But this was unexpected. The humans had mastered space travel, yes, but they were a young species by galactic standards. They had only just discovered how to bend the laws of physics to their will. They were a child in a playground of giants, yet here they were boldly venturing beyond their homeworld. With nothing but a small ship and a handful of brave souls at the helm, the Galactic Council had been keeping an eye on Earth for years, quietly assessing whether humanity would become a future threat or an ally. But this one act, this one choice to send only a single ship, it confused them. The humans hadn't sent a fleet to declare war. They hadn't sent a force to demand anything. They had sent a ship, as if they were testing the waters, as if the galaxy itself was nothing more than an open question they would answer with their actions. Instead of words, they didn't know what they were up against, and they were willing to find out. The leaders of the council debated for hours about the implications of this strange move. Some argued it was a calculated risk. Others believed it was the humans' way of mocking the galaxy's power, a challenge to their authority. No one knew for sure what the humans' intentions were, but there was something undeniably intriguing about them. They were not afraid. They did not hesitate. They simply continued their journey into the unknown. The Horizon moved forward undisturbed, its mission clear to those who were paying attention. This was only the beginning. They had sent just one ship, but it felt like it was going to be the spark that set the galaxy on fire. The Council of Alien Species had gathered in their most secure chamber, a room hidden deep within the core of their alliance's central hub, its walls lined with ancient texts from civilizations far older than humanity's first steps into space. The beings seated at the table were the most powerful of their kind, each one representing a different race, with a different history, a different view of the universe. Yet all of them stared at the same screen, the same image of the lone human ship drifting into their territory. Each of them felt an uneasy tension coil in the pit of their stomachs. They were used to watching new species rise and fall, to see them claim a small corner of the galaxy. But the humans were different. There was something about them that unsettled the oldest members of the council. They had watched them grow. Their science had advanced in ways that were both impressive and frightening. Their rapid evolution had stunned even the longest living species in the galaxy. But this act, sending a single ship into the vastness of space, was nothing like anything they had seen before. It defied logic, defied strategy, and yet it carried a message that none of them could quite decipher. Some of the council members were uneasy. Some whispered that the humans were weak and foolish, that their lack of power would make them easy to conquer. Others argued that the humans were hiding their true strength, and that the ship was a trap, a means to lure them in for an ambush. One of the oldest beings, the Shilkor, a species with lifespans stretching well beyond what the humans could comprehend, spoke up, his voice like gravel, yet carrying the weight of centuries of wisdom. He believed the humans were not sending a challenge, but an invitation. They were testing the waters, seeing if the galaxy would respond to them or ignore them. He saw it as a bold step, not out of arrogance, but out of sheer determination. They weren't sending a fleet. They weren't making demands. They were simply reaching out to make contact. And that was what made them dangerous to some of the other council members. This sounded like nothing more than an oversight. Humans were known for their unpredictability. They were ruled by emotion, not logic. It seemed absurd that they would send only one ship into the vast unknown. Some saw it as proof of their naivety, while others saw it as proof of their arrogance. But none could deny that the humans were a force to be reckoned with. Their technology, though primitive by galactic standards, had already begun to surpass what many species had expected from a race. So young, their ability to adapt, learn, and innovate had already begun to reshape the stars, and now they had entered the most dangerous part of space, the neutral zone between the various galactic powers, where no species dared to tread lightly. The Shilkor's eyes narrowed as he watched the human ship glide closer to their borders. He sensed something in the quiet confidence of the human crew, something that defied all the assumptions of the Council. They were not here to conquer or beg for mercy. They were here to prove something far greater than anyone could have imagined. And that is what made them so dangerous. No one in the Council could deny it. Humanity had just shown the galaxy they were here, and they were not going anywhere. The Horizon continued its journey through the black void of space as the crew aboard the human ship remained steadfast and focused on their mission. They had little understanding of the enormity of the galaxy's eyes watching them, but they knew their purpose was clear to them. The unknown was both a challenge and an opportunity. They were explorers venturing beyond the boundaries of everything. They had known every new star system, every uncharted planet, brought a sense of excitement and wonder to their hearts. They had no grand fleet, no massive army, no armada to back them up, just one ship, and a determination to learn, to make contact, to see what lay beyond the small world they called home. They were not naive. They knew the risks of entering such a vast and unknown space. The galaxy was filled with dangers that could easily tear them apart, yet it was that very knowledge of the unknown that pushed them forward. The ship's captain, Captain Ilara Reyes, stood at the helm, gazing out into the endless expanse of stars. She had lived her entire life on Earth, in the shadow of humanity's struggles and triumphs. But now she was seeing a bigger picture. The universe itself was open to them. They were making history with every passing moment. This mission wasn't just for exploration or discovery. It was for something far greater. It was a message to the galaxy that humanity was ready to take its place among the stars. The crew had trained for this moment for years. Their mission was simple, at least on the surface. They were to survey and document alien life forms and technology that existed beyond their world, to gather information and share it with Earth so humanity could learn and grow. But Ilara knew this mission was more than that. It was a statement, a challenge, an opportunity to show the galaxy that humanity was not just a fledgling species trying to survive, but one that was capable of thriving, capable of navigating the most dangerous corners of space with nothing more than their ingenuity and spirit. Aboard the ship were scientists, engineers, and diplomats, all working together toward a common goal, all sharing the same belief that humanity could not remain in isolation forever, that the time to join the galactic community had come. Their ship was not equipped for battle. It was not designed to wage war against the great galactic powers that surrounded them, but it was equipped with something even more powerful, an unwavering belief in their potential. They had no idea that the eyes of the galaxy were upon them as they journeyed into the depths of space. No idea that alien species were already analyzing their every move, interpreting the simple act of sending a single ship as a dangerous gamble or a potential threat. But Ilara and her crew weren't concerned with how others saw them. They were focused on what lay ahead: the planets. They would explore the stars. They would chart the species they would encounter. It was a journey of discovery, but also a journey of proving themselves to the galaxy. They were no longer a planet of war and division. They were a species ready to contribute and to share their knowledge. They had sent just one ship, but that one ship was more than enough to begin rewriting the story of humanity among the stars. As the Horizon sailed deeper into uncharted space, the crew began to feel the weight of the unknown pressing down on them. With each passing light year, the vastness of the galaxy seemed to stretch endlessly before them, and though their mission remained clear, there was a lingering unease among the crew, something they could not easily shake. The Galactic Council had made its presence known. The warnings had come through encoded messages intercepted on their communication channels, alien ships moving into position along their course. But the Horizon held its course without hesitation. Captain Ilara Reyes had made it clear they were here to explore, not to fight, to make contact, and to learn. But the tension that came with knowing they were being watched by an unknown number of advanced alien fleets weighed on the minds of her officers. Their instruments hummed softly as the ship approached the first of the alien borders designated by the galactic powers. This zone had been marked neutral but dangerous, a place where the rules of engagement were not so clearly defined, where any misstep could result in disaster. They had no fleet to back them up, no weapons beyond the most basic forms of defense. All they had was their wits and their resolve to be taken seriously. Ilara stood at the bridge, staring at the display before her. The alien ships appeared as blips on the sensor array, their designs completely unfamiliar, their movements slow and deliberate. It was clear the galactic powers were taking this human ship seriously, too seriously. In some ways, perhaps they were underestimating the humans, or perhaps they simply couldn't figure out why such a small ship had entered their territory. Without the usual entourage that accompanied most species of similar ambition, the question of why lingered among the minds of every leader in the Galactic Council. Why had the humans sent just one ship, a simple science vessel without backup, without any apparent weapons or defenses? Was it a trap? Was it a message? Was it a declaration of independence? Whatever it was an enigma that none of them could ignore. The alien ships began to move closer, and for a moment it felt as though the entire universe had gone silent. The crew aboard the Horizon held their breath, waiting for what would come next. They were unarmed. They had no way to defend themselves against the overwhelming power of the galactic fleets. But they didn't flinch, they didn't back down. They knew what they had to do, and they knew that this moment would define them. It would either mark humanity as nothing more than an insignificant species, or it would mark the beginning of something far greater, something that would change the galaxy forever. The first contact was approaching, but it would not be the meeting of equals. It would not be a peaceful handshake between allies. The moment they crossed into this neutral zone, they had already begun to play a dangerous game. The human ship was just a small speck in the vastness of space. But Ilara knew one thing for sure: the galaxy would not be the same after today. As the alien ships moved closer, still she made her decision. She gave the order to hold steady, to engage. No weapons, no posturing, just an unwavering message of peace. They had come to show the galaxy who they were, and that they would not cower in the face of the unknown. And as the first alien ship came within range, Ilara gave a single command to her crew: prepare for first contact. The first alien ship appeared in full view as it approached the horizon. The vessel was immense compared to the human ship. Its hull gleamed with strange, almost unnatural lights, and its shape defied every convention of human design. It was a sleek, angular silhouette that seemed to cut through the vacuum of space. Like a blade, the tension aboard the Horizon reached a boiling point. The crew could feel it in the air, the anticipation thick and heavy as they awaited their first encounter with an entirely unknown species. The ship's sensors pulsed with data as the alien vessel hailed them. The language was incomprehensible at first, a rapid series of clicks and tonal variations, but the translator systems on board the Horizon quickly adapted and began to synthesize the signals into something understandable. Ilara's heart raced as the first words came through the comms: "Identify yourselves." The voice was cold, mechanical, but not unkind, a simple demand. But it carried the weight of centuries of galactic history behind it. The crew exchanged nervous glances. The moment had arrived. It was no longer just a mission. It was humanity's first step onto a stage far larger than they had ever imagined. Ilara took a deep breath and stepped forward to the communication panel, her voice calm but firm as she spoke. "This is Captain Ilara Reyes of the human ship Horizon. We come in peace from the planet Earth. We seek knowledge and peaceful relations with the galactic community." The alien voice on the other end paused for a moment before responding, this time with a slight change in tone. It was almost as if they were considering her words carefully. "You are alone." The voice said, "You have no fleet, no backup. Why do you come here with only one ship?" Ilara's mind raced, but she remained composed. "We come alone because we believe that peace must start with trust. If we had come with a fleet, it would imply fear or aggression. We come as one ship to show that we seek to build something new with the galaxy." The silence that followed felt unbearable to the crew. The alien vessel loomed ominously just outside their range, yet the communication channel remained open. Ilara could almost hear the weight of the decision being made on the other, and the galaxy's most powerful species were used to receiving grand gestures, seeing entire fleets come to them from new species ready to join or conquer. But the humans had sent nothing more than a single vessel to represent their world. The simplicity of it was as much a statement as the words they had spoken. It was a calculated risk, but it was also humanity's way of saying, "We are not here to demand anything. We are here to be part of something bigger than ourselves." The alien voice finally returned, but this time there was something different in it. It was still neutral, but there was a subtle shift in its tone, as if the weight of what had been said was sinking in. "Very well," the voice responded. "You may pass." Ilara could scarcely believe what she was hearing. A wave of relief washed over her, but she did not allow herself to relax just yet. They had crossed the first hurdle, but this was only the beginning. She turned to her crew, giving a silent nod to her officers to proceed. The horizon slowly edged forward into alien space, the first step into a galaxy that had been watching them all along. Yet even as they moved forward into the unknown, Ilara couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning of something far more complex, far more dangerous than any of them had anticipated. The horizon continued its journey deeper into alien space, the vast unknown stretching ahead. But with each passing moment, the weight of the situation grew heavier. Though the first contact had been peaceful, the tension was palpable. Every crew member could sense the gravity of what they were now part of. They had been granted permission to pass, but that wasn't the same as being welcomed. There were still dangers lurking in the shadows, and they had only just begun to understand the rules of the galaxy they had entered. Captain Ilara Reyes stood at the helm, her eyes fixed on the view screen as the alien vessels kept a watchful distance. Their silent observation had turned into something more, something far more calculated. The ship's sensors were now picking up faint energy readings from multiple directions, too subtle to be anything less than deliberate. They were being tracked, monitored, observed, as though the galaxy itself was waiting to see how humanity would react under pressure. At the same time, the crew continued their mission of exploration, scanning planets, mapping star systems, and recording everything they could. But beneath the routine of the job, there was an unmistakable awareness. They were no longer just explorers. They were pawns in a much larger game. And yet, none of them dared to show fear, not even in the smallest way. They had come here to prove themselves, not to retreat into the safety of Earth. It was during one of these routine scans that the crew stumbled upon something unexpected. A massive energy signature appeared on the edge of the star system they were exploring, far larger than anything the horizon could have hoped to contain. It pulsed with power, rippling through the fabric of space itself. The crew exchanged nervous glances, the silent agreement clear. They had to investigate. Ilara gave the order to adjust course, and the horizon began its approach. The closer they got, the more the ship's sensors struggled to interpret the data. There was something oddly familiar about the energy readings, something that didn't quite fit the known patterns of the galaxy. As they came within range, the view screen flickered, revealing an enormous object hanging just outside a distant moon, its surface pockmarked and scarred, an ancient structure that appeared as if it had once been alive. Ilara stood frozen, her breath caught in her throat. It wasn't just a structure. It was a ship. No, more than a ship. It was something ancient, its purpose lost to time. The readings on the ship's scanners were growing more erratic, suggesting something powerful and dangerous inside. But what? Who had built it? And why had it been abandoned here? The crew looked to Ilara for guidance, and in that moment, she felt the weight of every decision she had ever made in her career pressing on her shoulders. They had come here seeking knowledge, but what if this was something beyond anything they could understand? "This could be the breakthrough we've been searching for," Lieutenant Hanna, the ship's lead scientist, said cautiously. "If we can gain access, we might learn about an entirely different part of the galaxy's history." "I know," Ilara replied, her voice steady, but a chill crept up her spine. But it could also be something far darker than we ever imagined. The silence that followed was deafening. Everyone aboard the Horizon felt the tension, the anticipation. But there was something else too. A sense that they were no longer in control, that whatever happened next would not only determine their fate, but the fate of humanity itself in the galaxy. Before Ilara could make a decision, the ship's sensors suddenly spiked. A new signal, a transmission, began to pulse through their systems, the language unfamiliar but undeniably purposeful. As the transmission grew stronger, Ilara realized that they weren't alone anymore. Someone, or something, was reaching out to them. The galaxy's eyes were once again upon them. But this time, they were not watching from a distance. "We need to respond," Ilara said, her voice a mix of resolve and uncertainty. "Prepare to make contact." And with that, the crew of the Horizon knew they had crossed another threshold, one that would push them further into the depths of galactic mystery, with no guarantee of what they might find. But there was no turning back now. The journey had already begun, and the fate of humanity hung in the balance. The Horizon continued to drift toward the mysterious object, its once silent crew now tense with anticipation and uncertainty. The alien signal that had been detected had grown increasingly complex, almost as if it were trying to communicate with them directly, yet there was an unmistakable sense of urgency behind it, like a warning wrapped in the form of an invitation. Whatever lay ahead, Ilara knew it would not be something that humanity could simply walk away from. As the ship closed the distance to the ancient structure, the alien fleet surrounding them shifted into position, now unmistakably aware of the ship's intentions. The presence of the fleet, still at a distance but closing in, weighed heavily on the crew's minds. The small vessel had been granted passage, but now, it seemed, they were about to be put to the test. The massive structure grew larger on the view screen, revealing details of its design. There were features that appeared to be too symmetrical to be a natural formation, suggesting that this was not just an abandoned relic, but something far more deliberate, more powerful. The energy readings were becoming erratic, shifting between different wavelengths, as if the object itself was alive, responding to their approach. Ilara stood at the helm, gripping the edge of the console, her mind racing. What could it possibly be? Who had left this behind? And why had they chosen to hide it in such a desolate part of space? Questions flooded her thoughts, but she had no answers, only the growing sense that this was something much bigger than humanity, bigger than their place in the galaxy. As the Horizon reached the outer perimeter of the object, the communication system suddenly flared to life. A new voice, alien yet unmistakably familiar, cut through the static, a voice that carried a sense of ancient authority. "You have come far, humans," it said, its tone not hostile, but laden with age and wisdom. "Farther than most species ever dare. Do you know what you seek?" Ilara's hand hovered over the communication panel, uncertain for a moment. She had to choose her words carefully. They were no longer just a ship sent to explore. They were standing on the precipice of a moment that could define humanity's future. She spoke with a calm she didn't entirely feel, the weight of her responsibility pressing on her shoulders. "We seek knowledge," Ilara replied, her voice steady despite the uncertainty that churned inside her. "We seek to understand, to be part of the galaxy, to learn from those who have come before us. But most of all, we seek peace." There was a long pause, and then a low hum emanated from the alien structure, the response not verbal but felt, a vibration that resonated deep within the hull of the Horizon. It was as if the structure itself was considering her words. "We are not the first to seek peace," the voice answered, this time with a note of warning. "The galaxy is older than you can comprehend, and peace is often a fleeting thing. Some seek knowledge only to use it for destruction. Others, like you, seek it with hope. But hope alone will not save you." Ilara's eyes narrowed. The voice wasn't threatening, but there was an unmistakable gravity to its words. It was clear that this was not a simple diplomatic conversation. It was a test, a measure of humanity's worth, and whether they would be able to navigate the dangers of the galaxy without succumbing to its darker elements. "We are not here to conquer," Ilara said firmly. "We're here to learn, to contribute, to understand our place among the stars." The voice paused again, and then the hum from the object grew louder, more intense. It was as if the structure was coming alive, responding to the exchange. And then, without warning, the object's surface began to shift, revealing a massive door, ancient yet pristine, covered in intricate symbols that seemed to pulse with an energy of their own. "You have passed the first test," the voice said, now echoing in a way that felt both distant and near. "Enter. But know this, what you find inside will shape your future. It will shape the future of humanity." As the massive door slowly opened, revealing the depths of the alien structure, the crew aboard the Horizon exchanged uneasy glances. They had been granted access, but now the true test began. What lay beyond that door could be a source of unimaginable power, or a dangerous force that could tear humanity apart before they even had a chance to establish themselves among the stars. With one final glance at her crew, Ilara gave the order, "Prepare to enter." And with that, the Horizon crossed the threshold into the unknown. The massive door slid open slowly, revealing a space beyond that defied all understanding. The interior was not like anything the crew of the Horizon had ever encountered. It was vast, stretching far beyond what the ship's sensors could capture. The walls seemed to shimmer and pulse with light, an otherworldly glow that seemed to come from no discernible source. The structure itself felt alive, the very air around them humming with a strange, almost tangible energy. Ilara stood at the threshold, her heart pounding in her chest as she stared into the cavernous expanse before her. There was no telling what lay ahead. Every instinct told her to proceed with caution, but there was no going back now. Humanity had taken the first step into the unknown, and there was no turning back from the path they had chosen. "Captain," Lieutenant Hana's voice broke through the silence, her voice shaky but resolute. "The readings, they're unlike anything we've ever seen. The structure seems to be drawing power from somewhere. It's almost like it's been waiting for us." Ilara nodded, her mind racing. "I know. I feel it too." She turned to her crew, her voice steady despite the uncertainty that gripped her. "We've come this far. Whatever happens next, we face it together. Stay close and keep your comms open." We move forward, slowly, cautiously. The crew nodded in unison, their faces set with determination. The doors behind them sealed with an audible hiss, trapping them inside the structure. The only way forward was through the winding corridors ahead, their passage lit by the eerie glow emanating from the walls. They moved deeper into the structure, the silence oppressive, save for the sound of their footsteps echoing through the vast chambers. The architecture was not designed for any species they could recognize. The hallways were smooth and impossibly symmetrical, the materials clearly far beyond what humanity could manufacture. The walls were etched with symbols that seemed to shift and change, as if they were alive, telling a story the crew could not decipher. But there was one truth that was becoming increasingly clear. This was not the work of an ancient race, but of something much older, much more powerful. At the heart of the structure, they found the source of the energy, the core. It was a massive, pulsating sphere, suspended in the center of a vast chamber. Its surface shimmered with colors that defied description, shifting constantly, as if it were alive, breathing. Around the core were the remnants of a complex machinery, no longer functional, but unmistakably built to harness the power of the sphere. Ilara could feel the pull of the energy deep in her bones, a strange, undeniable force that seemed to call to her. "This is it," Ilara whispered, her voice barely audible. The power they spoke of. But what power? And what cost would it exact? Her thoughts were interrupted by the voice they had heard earlier, now booming throughout the chamber, echoing off the walls. "You have entered, and now you must decide. The choice is yours. Ilara stepped forward, her eyes fixed on the core. What choice? The choice to wield the power contained here, the voice replied. But beware, for power is not given freely. It requires sacrifice. It requires wisdom. And it requires strength. Ilara felt the weight of the decision pressing on her, harder than anything she had ever faced. The entire future of humanity might hinge on what happened next. This was no simple discovery. It was an invitation to join the ranks of ancient and powerful civilizations, to become something more. But what would that mean for humanity? Would they be able to handle such immense power? Would they fall victim to the same hubris that had destroyed so many others? Captain, Hannah's voice cracked through the tension. There's a way to tap into it, but we need to be certain. Are we ready for this? Can we even control it? Ilara closed her eyes, taking a deep breath. We're not ready yet, but we can't turn away from it either. Humanity has never had the luxury of waiting for perfection. We've always pushed forward, taken risks. She turned to face her crew, their faces a mixture of fear and resolve. We're going to take what we can from this. Not to dominate, but to understand, to learn. We've come this far, and now we must prove we are worthy of the galaxy's future. The voice boomed again, this time with a hint of approval. Then your journey has just begun. As Ilara gave the command to initiate the process of accessing the core, a wave of energy swept through the chamber, enveloping the crew. The ship's systems hummed to life, and for the first time since they had entered this ancient place, Ilara felt a surge of hope. Humanity had found something far beyond their expectations, but the true test was only just beginning. They had made their choice to learn, to grow, to take their place among the stars. The door behind them opened, and the crew of the Horizon stepped forward, ready to face whatever came next. The galaxy had watched them, and now humanity had proven they were not a species to be underestimated.